You've got a superpower that you might not be using. I first learned about mine from a woman born in 1898. Stylish and sassy, as a young girl, she only narrowly escaped being lynched by the Ku Klux Klan. Her name was Maribel, and she was my great-grandmother. When I was about 4 years old, my mom came to pick me up from school. She asked the teacher, "How'd we do today?" Not good." The teacher shook her head. "Dena keeps going to the front of the line." Well, when we got home, my great-grandmother asked me for my side of the story. Well, I went to the end of the line, but somebody else was already there. She laughed. My mother was not amused. Well, I tried, I told my mom, but I just don't belong at the end of the line. My mother, angry, began detailing my punishment. But my great-grandmother, on the other hand, stood, took it all in, and with the help of her cane, as she stood, said, "She's got spirit." What others called defiance, she called spirit. And the wisdom that she gave me was, trust your spirit, for it is your salvation. It would be many years before I would come to understand the bigger implications of my fight to claim the front of the line. But that wisdom would provide the foundation for a kind of power that would give me a map to purpose and a path to contribution. Fast forward 18 years, I was in a perpetual rush, racing to finish a master's degree program 6 months earlier than my peers. The fear of failure, of being a nobody, hung over me like the sword of Damocles. And yet the more I raced to find a top spot, the more things fell apart. Everybody around me, it seemed, was finding their place, getting paid and promoted. Well, I was unemployed and living with my mother. A family friend remarked, "All that fancy Ivy League education, and you can't get it together." Well, of course I couldn't get it together, because the only way I could have gotten it together would have been to reconnect with my spirit. But I didn't know that yet. All I knew was that I felt utterly lost. I tried Zoloft. I tried shopping on Madison Avenue. I even tried being an intern at Fox News. It was not a fit. I was trying to force myself onto a path that wasn't mine, and I made myself sick. Eventually, I had a surgery, and afterwards the doctor declared, "Face it, you'll just always be sick." From the depths of the defiance that I had stuffed down and denied came a single word: no. To defy means to go against, but its original meaning was to lose faith. And I had indeed lost faith in the map that I'd been conditioned to follow, namely that your power is ranked by externals like money, titles, and job status, and that you're only as valuable as your place in line. But how to turn that fiery no into real action? Guided by the 4-year-old who knew she did not belong at the back of the line, and by my great-grandmother's voice, I vowed to find a solution. Now, right then, I was fortunate enough to meet a spiritual teacher, and she introduced me to meditation. I know you're not going to believe this, but the very first time I meditated, I had one of those "it only happens in the movies" moments where you actually hear a voice. For the record, the voice was calm, and it had a baritone gravitas. And it said, you are here to lead people to their purpose. I call this connection inner power, unbound by religion or dogma. It is quite simply the point where the deepest part of you connects with the deepest part of life. Your inner power is your superpower. For years, my loudest voice was not my inner power. It was the voice that said, unless I rated in the value system I was raised in, I didn't matter. Now, the desire for significance is not only an essential psychological need, it's also, as science is proving, a biological one. Leading researchers in the fields of medicine, psychiatry, biobehavior have shown that when we don't feel we are contributing meaningfully, our immune systems suffer. And we express the same genetic patterns as people enduring chronic adversity. In short, we are wired for purpose, and without it, we falter. But connection to our powerful purpose requires radical defiance of what we've been told to value and prioritize. It requires the occasional no. And for leaders, the stakes are even higher. Because without an inner compass, your highest aspiration will likely be to exert power over others for its own sake. And you know that game of power over? There are rulers and ruled, dominators and dominated. And the collective belief that power over is our ultimate goal. And that's a lie. You see, we are mistaking force for power, handbags for worth, titles and number of likes and followers for innate value. We are accepting the dynamics of top dog, underdog as normal. And our rationale, well, that's just the way it is. It's a cover-up for our intense fear at finding ourselves in the wrong place in line. And that's why everything revolves around getting or keeping a top spot, or the terror of ending up in the back. And so, why is that? Because when power is a scarce commodity, you gotta fight for it. And that's why even those of us who don't believe in the tenets of power over have unconsciously internalized its dynamics. Think about it. I was making myself sick, unwell, trying to follow a path that wasn't mine, unconsciously bullying myself out of power. But there is a possibility beyond power over. It's a world in which power with and power to are the norm. Imagine a world where humanity is served by money instead of compromised by it. What if instead of bullying, cancel culture, and building walls, we built bridges? You like that world? Well, that world begins when you connect to your spirit and let it put you on purpose. When you tune in and turn on. The people I lead realize the problems that we have cannot be solved using the old rules of power over. They realize that this begging and pleading corrupt leaders to do the right thing will always fail. Because as long as we're entrenched in power over, as long as we have such a high tolerance for power over, the top dogs in charge, most of them have zero incentive to change. I've spent years analyzing why we're terrified to trust our own power. And based on thousands of pieces of client data, research, written assessments, interviews, stories, I've distilled it down to these fears: loss of worth, loss of belonging, loss of safety. We're terrified that if we speak up about the way our company or our culture is out of integrity, we will lose that paycheck. We are scared that if we set a boundary with a friend or family member, we might get ostracized. And you know what? You might. Embracing an alternate definition of power is not easy. But we're not here for easy. We're here to make a difference. You don't need a guru, a religious conversion, or a PhD. All you need is the willingness to listen to your spirit and the courage to tune in and turn on. My great-grandmother didn't hold advanced degrees. She didn't have millions of dollars in the bank. But she taught me how to stand up. She taught me that my power does not come from an external source, but from an inner soul force. And she had a lot of sayings. One of them was, "Ain't no need of being rich and living like you're poor." So I have come here today to pass that sentiment along. No matter where you are in the line of life, you are rich in spirit. So tune in and turn it on. You are not in need of power. You are the power. Thank you. Thank you.